Hello, everyone. This is Fabiola Escalon, host of the Rio Grande Current newsletter on Substack. I focus on Rio Grande Valley issues from politics, mostly, to current events. We just had a March primary election, but not all candidates received the 50% voter support. Therefore, we are in need for voters to show up one more time to the polls to decide who will represent them on the ballot in the incoming November 2026 midterm elections. One highly contested race is District 41. State Representative Bobby Guerra announced his retirement back in 2025. He totaled 14 years in office, and cities covered by his district are parts of McAllen. I say parts. Mission, Edinburgh Far, Palmhurst, Palmview, Alton, and Lopezville. This district is a site of competitive primary runoffs for both parties due to hyper gerrymandering, because the GOP district maps have been configured to favor Republicans, and this seat is no exception. With me today is Democratic candidate Julio Salinas. Julio Salinas is only 26 years old, but his story reflects the struggles and resilience of many Rio Grande Valley families. The son of migrant farm worker roots, Julio grew up understanding both the hardships of working class life and the promise that education, community, and hard work would still create a path forward in the RGV. Welcome, Julio Salinas, and thank you for accepting my invitation for this interview. How are you this morning?
Thank you, Fabiola. Thank you for having me. I'm doing quite well.
Great. I'm going to get started. Julio, people in the Rio Grande Valley are hurting under the current Republican state and federal policies. Many feel unheard, underrepresented, and voters are increasingly frustrated when elected officials campaign as Democrats, but later support policies aligned with Governor Abbott's agenda. At the same time, more Valley residents are becoming politically engaged. We're seeing that they're joining national protests, paying closer attention to elections, and turning out in higher numbers, as seen in the March primary. Voters want clarity about where candidates stand politically, especially when they are backed by establishment figures. There has also been discussion about among grassroots organizers who feel that you took a jab at them. These are highly engaged voters who are seeking an explanation. Why is your name still on this letter? And I do not want to name people or groups, but they know who they are, and you know who they are. Do you want to address this?
Absolutely. When it comes to whatever letter that you're speaking about, I did get a call from it. I believe this was a letter that was written back in June, that had my name on it. Now, I denied having signed it back then. I deny it having signed it right now. Um, and the best thing that you can do is believe me or not believe me. I find letters like these to be kind of unproductive, to be honest. Whether it's the organization that got the letter right there, or whether it be and the letter against Kendall Scudder and all of these kinds. I find these letters to be quite unproductive when it comes to actually going forward with what we're trying to build here. Now we're gonna have disagreements on a bunch of metrics on how we get to organize for Democrats across the state, but it's I find it unproductive to go after anybody. So, like I said, I didn't sign the letter, and I didn't sign the letter. It was my name that was put on it without my consent. So I can say
And
that.
I guess the organizers or the grassroots organizers are asking, why is your name still on that letter?
Oh, it was an email, so it's hard to edit an email. You can't edit an email. Uh,
Okay, fair enough.
so
So
there's not
there's
much that you can do there, right? But I already told everybody, that's not my name on there. That my name shouldn't be on there.
okay, fair enough. So on to the questions. Will you commit to hold at least one in-person town hall per quarter in McAllen or the area if elected? Yes or no?
Absolutely. My intent is to be transparent and active in the community, not only for what I'm doing is where I stand on, not only for what I am doing, but also where I stand on particular issues. I have often been really wary about current representatives seemingly disappearing after an election, so I want to create a culture of accessibility.
Great. Do you support Medicaid expansion in Texas? Yes or no?
Absolutely. We also need we need to expand Medicaid all across the state. It is a travesty the fact that we haven't done it. Governor Abbott is playing games with the with our Medicaid expansion and hurting working families here. But we also need to stand up to the pharmaceutical industries, capping prescription drug costs like insulin and EpiPens, especially in a place where diabetes is acutely affecting our area more than any other region in the entire country. So at a
Hmm.
time like this, we need representatives that are willing to stand up to the pharmaceutical industry and the hospital industry when it comes to what is needed for Texas working families, especially in the RGV.
That's good. We understand that you alone cannot fix it all. You need to work with other representatives, right? It's not just you. And then we need to wait
Right.
for the Senate as well. So just for the audience listening, one person can't fix it all, correct?
No, no, one person can't fix it all, which is why I was proud to work with such a strong team when I was working in the legislature. I've been working there for the past 5 years, building up the relationships to, hit the ground running day one. I am proud to be endorsed by over 20 state representatives, either current or future representatives that are going into this race. So I have the most amount of support from all across the state. There really is a world outside of the RGV, and we have to make sure that the RGV is seen as a place that needs to be invested upon. And the only way that we do that is by having those relationships and building them up. And I'm proud to have been endorsed and trusted by so many representatives all across the state, federal congressmen, and just recently now Senator Bernie Sanders for bringing attention to the Rio Grande Valley, a place that has not been seen, has not been given the love that it needs to have.
Congratulations on your endorsement from Bernie Sanders.
Yes,
I
very big fan.
that's what led me every single episode. This is what led me to do this work that I'm doing, providing a platform for stories and candidates because people don't get to hear it. We don't hear the full story, and I really like to get, into the depth of it. Um,
Right. And
anyway,
when it comes to my first, so I've been organizing since I was 15 years old. That was 11 years ago, over a decade ago. My first organizing thing was knocking on doors for Bernie Sanders. So that was it's incredible that 11 years later we have come full circle to what we have now. Uh,
it
what we
sounds
have
like
now,
it.
where we have the support and endorsement just today of Senator Sanders, and I'm really inspired by all the people, all the young people, especially that were driven to running for office. The
Hmm.
61 representatives all across the country that I see that are showing up and
They're
making sure
motivating you.
they're motivated, and we're motivated, and we're not gonna stop.
And I'm motivated by the young vote because that is what's missing, right? We
I
have
agree.
all these people, what is it, 50 and up who are voting and then the youth feel left behind, but they're not voting. So, anyway, let me continue. I know you're busy. Do you support current state level immigration enforcement escalation in Texas? Yes or no?
No, I'm a proud son of immigrants, and I had been fighting in the legislature against these escalation of immigration enforcement, especially at the federal level, especially at the federal level, and the state level, where the governor has been completely complicit in a mass mass deportations and cruelty that have personally affected me and my family, with my aunt having been detained 75 years old, 28 days in detention uh, in Raymondville, and
Raymondville.
was yeah in Raymondville, and was actually detained during the same day that the primary was on March 3rd. So this was something that I fought against in the legislature. It's something that's hitting me personally. In the legislature, I will fight to repeal SB 8 for that would uh, allow local law enforcement to enforce federal law enforcement. And I also, in the legislature, I was one of the I had a critical role in killing what would have been SGR 87 that would have denied bail to all undocumented immigrants.
What
This
did you
is
do there?
so in the legislature, there's something called points of order. There are certain procedural rules that you have to take. And if you do not fall within those procedural rules, you can do what is called a point of order. And in that case, the law is not in order. So you would have to go redo it again. So this was a delaying tactic to make sure that this bill did not get into the job. So the procedural rule it had to do with it had to do with a motion to reconsider. It had to do
And you
with a
took
lot of
part in this, is what I was getting.
yes, I
Yeah,
did take part of
directly.
this. Yes, the first time that I saw this, I was flipping through the House rules and precedents and immediately called the House Democratic Caucus chair's office, Gene Wu's, and informed him that I think uh, that there was something wrong with SJR 87 and how it was put into the mix, and the motion to reconsider could not be shown. Now, this was a bill, by the way, that had to have 100 votes through the legislature, and I believe in the first round, uh, in the in the first round of voting, it needs to go to 2 rounds of voting. In the first round of voting, it got 99 votes, and it needed 100 in order to pass through the legislature. And many of those representatives who did vote for it were border. Many of those Democrats who voted for that bill because it needed Democratic support in order to pass as well.
Hmm.
Uh, were from the border region,
Hmm.
and that's something that I can tell you right now that is not going to be me when it comes to uh, fighting bills like SJR 87. I will be there and I will be fighting against that.
In my introduction, that is something that I'm mentioning. People don't feel represented. People don't feel that somebody's fighting for us. But I will continue. Billions are being spent on border buoys and wall infrastructure. Billions have already been spent by the state. Do you support continuing that level of spending? Yes or no? And how are you going to make sure people feel secure? Because they're tying it to security.
That's right. No, this is what is called Operation Lone Star. It is a bill. It is a budget item by the governor that is draining $11 billion from our budget, billions of dollars that we need to invest into our education and healthcare programs. So when it comes to these so-called law enforcement, border security measures that supposedly the federal government has already taken care of, we need to make sure that we are getting that money and investing into the proper things for working class people, uh, things like education, healthcare, and infrastructure.
That's good. McAllen in the area faces long-term flooding risks and water quality concerns. What is your first concrete policy action in your first term to improve water safety and infrastructure?
So I'm proud to be endorsed by the Sierra Club, and because they trust the work that I've done in the legislature and the state capitol to fight for clean water. Working within the transportation committee as well, one of the many things that we were fighting for was investments into better drainage along the state highways, and with much of that funding being allocated to the RGB. Now, a lot of that funding didn't get through this session. A lot of it has to go through the appropriations process and budget writers and things that need to do. But that's why it's so important to have someone in the legislature that understands what's going on and has the relationships day one in order to build that up. So that's why I will be fighting for better drainage along the state highways. I will be fighting for cleaner water and energy infrastructures so that we don't have our water contaminated by so that we don't have
So
our
many
water
things.
contaminated.
There's so
There's
many
so many things
contaminants.
that you can be doing here.
Agricultural runoff,
That's right.
toxic plumes underneath. All right. So, do you support school vouchers expanding in Texas at any level? And if you don't, what can be done to stop them in the future
No, I don't support school vouchers. I believe that they are a drain on
at
the
any
system
level?
at any level. Uh, I I believe they are a drain at the system of our public schools, which need a 20 to $40 billion injection in order to stay within the national average. And the fact that we are investing billions upon billions of dollars, 1 billion today, 7 billion tomorrow, 11 billion the next year, uh, on private school vouchers, that is something that we need to be investing in for our public schools. So I will be fighting against that. I will be fighting for public schools. I will be fighting for a $15,000 raise for teachers and other school staff, and also a COLA retirement benefits for them.
Mhm.
And this is also curious that this comes out. This is something that I thought we were sort of united upon, uh, in at least in this primary. But
Mhm.
it's curious that my opponent came out with a mailer, what comes out with a mailer calling himself the RGV's champion for public education, and then just this week, Dark Money Pro Voucher Pack started sending out mailers to rehabilitate his image
Mm.
to Democrats about him not voting as a Democrat, not voting as a Democrat for over 15 years. So I think this is massively important, and we can't get this wrong.
That's right. We can't get this wrong. Underfunding has gone to a very low level right here. It's underfunded and then underfunded.
Yeah,
Um,
underfunded, and teachers are underpaid and
and
overworked.
and they're leaving the profession at high rates.
That's right.
And all right, moving on. And name your top two infrastructure priorities for the district and explain exactly how you would secure funding at the state level. Again, you're not going to do this alone, but what is your idea? What is your plan?
Absolutely. So I worked within the transportation committee. That was my specialization when I was working there. So I've had built massive amounts of relationships with the not only the chair but also the vice chair of transportation, who has endorsed me in this race, Marianne Perez. And what we are looking to do in terms of infrastructure projects, I would like to bring high-speed rail to Texas, uh, specifically to the RGV, connecting the border corridor between Laredo and Brownsville, running through McAllen, and then connecting Monterey to San Antonio, running through Mission. This is going to be a massive infrastructure project that I think will create massive effects, economic boom for the Rio Grande Valley, even before the first spike is laid into the ground. And the second thing that we need to do is that we need to have a water retention initiative. Basically, we are running out of water. We are in a very critical state. We have seen cities like Corpus Christi running out of water completely. So we need to make sure that we are lining our canals, retaining the water that we already have, investing in new forms of energy, and just bringing in those kinds of things. And then the other thing that I would like to do is the geothermal plant. This is something that Representative Bobby Guerra was fighting for in the legislature
Mhm.
beforehand, and something that I believe that I would be able to fight for in the future and take that over. It takes 3 sessions to get anything passed through the legislature, is what is said.
Mhm.
And I would like to take up that mantle and see if we can pass that this next session.
Very ambitious, and I hope all those things get done. We need water infrastructure. There was a
We need
prominent
ambition. We
ambition.
need ambition. We need to throw deep here.
That's right. What is your specific plan to ensure, again, that District 41's working class communities directly benefit from the state economic development, not just larger Texas metro areas? So we see that monies go to Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio, and they
That's
don't
right.
come down here. And also adding to that is training local talent so that we hire locally.
Right. And I think that this has been a running theme with our Texas House representatives here, is that we've sort of lived within our own little bubble where little attention is paid to us down here in the valley. So I got to say that there is a world outside of the Rio Grande Valley, and because of that, I want to fight directly for McAllen and for working class people of the RGV, McAllen, Mission Far, and Edinburgh, to bring massive amounts of investments down here, because this is one of the fastest growing metroplexes in the entire state, in the entire country for that matter. It will grow, to double the size within the next 10, 15 years. And this will be a place where economic development is going to be excessively needed.
What,
And
if I can interrupt you, why is
sure,
that? Why is the GOP so focused, not just in the Latino vote, but in this infrastructure? Why are they so focused on it? And number two, how do you take care of the environment at the same time?
absolutely. So, would you repeat that first question, because
Why do
I'm a
you,
little bit.
yes, why do you think the GOP is so interested in building a lot of infrastructure, talking about data centers
That's
and
right.
desalination plants and so on and so on. But they are not focused on the environment. At least I don't see it in
Yeah.
taking care of the environment.
So,
Why
I
do you
mean,
think?
this goes to several other things. It does come down to money again. This is something where I think that our Republican legislators are seeing, there's a lot of money in data centers. There's a lot of money that can be given to them through campaign contributions, but also that they can say, "Oh, we've generated X amount we've generated X amount in how much we've put in with these data centers." But really, it's just numbers on a page. It doesn't go to the working people of the areas that they represent. And these are massive energy drains and massive drains on the water infrastructure that we really need here. So it comes down to a lot of these things. So these infrastructure projects that seem to be very pro corporate need to be. We need to reshift our focus back to working people and what we're talking about with energy infrastructure. We're talking about clean energy like the geothermal plant, and
Hmm.
we're also talking about housing development as well, because this is a city that is massively growing, and what we need is a good housing policy that will make sure that the valley comes into fruition as a power player in the rest of the state and the country, because this could be a port, a gateway into a massive trading partner that is Mexico as well.
Hmm.
And we are growing at a massive pace, and we need good housing policy for those kinds of things. So, to protect the environment is also extremely important. To answer your question, uh, we need to refocus our energy infrastructure uh, initiatives to be more pro environment,
Hmm.
especially down here in the valley that has such beauty, that has a massive amount of flora and fauna diversity, that people from around the country and around the world come down to the valley just to see our
They do.
birds.
They do.
That is, I want to protect that. And infrastructure projects like the border wall, infrastructure projects like data centers in the Rio Grande Valley are not things that we need here, and I'll be fighting against that.
You oppose the border wall and border barriers.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. If you could only fix one major issue in McAllen during your first term, your most ardent issue, what would it be? And what exact action would you take in your first 100 days?
If I were to do something that acutely affects McAllen or House District 41 more than anything else, I think that it is our crumbling systems of healthcare and how much it gouges working people within the state. This is why I really want to fight for capping prescription drug prices, specifically insulin that acutely affects uh, people in the Rio Grande Valley. And everybody knows, including myself and my family, people who are diabetic. And these programs that gouge these pharmaceutical industries that gouge people and their prices when it comes to life-saving medication is not something that we need to be having. And if it was up to me, day one, with a flick of a pen, we will be fighting for caps on prescription drug prices and expanding Medicaid so that working people can have better healthcare uh, outcomes and better healthcare affordability.
And
That's going to
affordable.
be a massive priority for me in this next coming session, and that's what I would like to do.
You mentioned affordability, housing, and the electric bills, utility bills are skyrocketing.
That's right.
What can you do there? That you didn't
Well,
mention it as one of your most pressing issues. You mentioned healthcare, but we still
absolutely.
have housing and apartments. Our rents are high,
That's right.
utilities that keep going high.
Well, we need pro housing initiatives. We need to make sure that we have initiatives that make sure that we bring forward new types of housing in the Rio Grande Valley, not just single family housing, but also grow within the metro urban area of McAllen. We need to talk about diversifying our energy outcomes, whether that be through solar, wind, or geothermal. And that's something that I think I would be very. That's something I think that the RGV can actually lead the way on,
Mhm.
because we are still in a very precarious spot where we are very malleable towards different forms and outcomes of energy. And I think since we're not as reliant with the infrastructure in McAllen as they do in, say, a place like Houston,
Mhm.
it would be much easier to transition that now as opposed to 20 years from now, where we are going to grow at a massive pace. So, this is what is so good about having a young representative. We can have a person that is going to see what the future of the valley is going to look like going forward and take that into a new generation and basically have the forethought of what the valley's going to look like going later, because it's going to affect me personally. So
Right.
I'm in really good we're in really good shape to take this, and we're really excited.
Well, I'm very happy for you. I was going to ask you one last thing to close in one
Sure.
clear sentence. Why should District 41 voters choose you in the runoff over your opponent? And specifically on your record and priorities and the ability to deliver results. Um, no party
Absolutely.
labels, no general promises.
Absolutely. So what I'm offering is a new generation of leadership in the RGV, detached from special interest groups, detached from all of these types of sources, coming into this runoff with the most amount of experience and trust and support of the most amount of legislators. And I have been consistent in where I've stood on issues while my opponent continues to flip-flop on and refusing to answer on where he stands. So this is something that I think is going to be really important, and we're going to fight for that new generation of leadership. Uh, we're going to fight for that.
We need young people in Congress and the legislature in at all levels. Thank you so much, Julio Salinas, candidate for District 21. Thank you for your time today, and this concludes our interview. Good luck to you, and remind us one more time, when is the runoff?
Absolutely. We need everybody to go out to vote May 18th through the 22nd. That's early voting. That's next week. And also, May 26th is the final day. That nobody votes in these runoff elections, so your vote extremely matters in this race. Make sure you go out there, make a plan to vote. Look up your nearest polling location at the Hidalgo County elections website.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. God bless.
Thank you, Fabi. Bye bye.